Can you feel it? It's the early stages of something called momentum. We're starting to get things done, and it feels like we've got some direction again. It's a direction that not everyone will agree with, but that's okay. Parliament may be in the school holiday-induced recess, but that hasn't stopped our leaders from working on a plan. In the past few weeks, we've seen our Prime Minister leading a business delegation in Singapore and our Minister of Agriculture and Trading pitching our wares in China. Once again, we have a foreign minister who is prepared to front up to the rest of the world and tell our story. It's refreshing to see us back there, hustling on behalf of our country once again. Back home, momentum is building. Our biggest challenges are back onto spotlight. The challenges of education have been well discussed, and the new minister seems hell-bent on delivering some traction to what has been neglected or misdirected sector. At the core of the strategy is to get our kids back to school and back to the basics of maths, English and science on a daily basis. The good thing about the policy is that it makes sense to the majority of us. Crime is in the government sights too, and this week we've had an announcement that the 3 strikes law has been reinstated. The new law will apply to violent offending and will be introduced into Parliament in June. Of course, as always, there are plenty of people saying that such policies don't work and won't work. But the last government tried the opposite, and they proactively decreased the prison population, and that didn't work either. Crime quickly became worse. At least the current approach should see our bad guys off the street until someone comes up with a better idea. The Minister of Employment and Social Development has been busy too. Louise Upston is cracking down on people cheating the job seeker system. It's no secret that New Zealand has a massive welfare bill, and anything that can be reasonably done to reduce that is highly desirable. I don't think there are too many of us out there who would disagree with the need to look after those who can't look after themselves. Any decent society must do that. But the trouble with our welfare system is the people who choose welfare as a lifestyle. We've almost 188,000 people on JobSeeker. That's about 5.6% of our working age population. The Minister describes 103,000 of those people being able to work. The government has set a goal to reduce the job seeker number by 50,000 people over the next 6 years. The objective is to get more people in work and less people on welfare. That's hard to argue with. So the minister is requiring those people to do everything they can to prepare themselves for work and to find work. She says that they need to apply for jobs and turn up for interviews. She's expecting people to do their bit. That means we need everyone who can be to be contributing member of society. Again, in a society where productivity is not our strong point, it's an approach that's difficult to argue with. And of course our government is on a cost reduction drive, a process that has already attracted plenty of headlines. Any situation that sees people losing their jobs is difficult to deal with. That is especially the case in the current economic environment, where inflation and interest are weighing heavily on us all. But we have to remember, the public service has grown over the recent years at a rate of 5% per year. In the 12 months to June 2023, the public service grew in approximately 4,000 full-time workers. In the 6 months from June last year to December last year, ministerial managers saw fit to add a further 2,582 full-time personnel, despite the projected change of government and the likelihood that job losses would be inevitable. And so, to put the job losses in perspective, those announced so far number just over 2,800. That's only a smidgen more than the number of government jobs added in the last 6 months of last year. I suspect there's more to come. But as with education, crime, welfare noted above, at least they're doing something about it. But there's plenty more to do. Immigration, for example. The fact that we have more than 200,000 newcomers arriving in a 12-month period should provide cause for pause. While I recognise the value that immigration can bring, I'm also cautious about the need to bring the right people. In other words, I'm not a fan of immigration for the sake of immigration. There is no doubt that well-structured immigration policy can provide a fast track to suitable population growth, delivering qualifications, skills, and know-how that we need to grow our economy and support the need of our people. But we don't need low-skilled people who become destined for the scrap heap and low temporary jobs, or worse, unemployment. Our immigration policy should increasingly target the people we need, rather than provide an open invitation for all and sundry. We can offer a way of life that is wonderful by comparison to much of the world, especially at the moment. We should be using that natural advantage to rebuild our capability and our expertise. There's another consideration to our immigration debate. Where do we put all these people? Housing is another big challenge inherited by this government. It is the process of making life a bit easier for landlords in the hope that those landlords will fund further rental supply. The government is introducing legislation to speed up approvals and consents for construction, and one would hope that the reduction in red tape can also deliver a much-needed reduction in building costs. Emergency housing is costing the country a small fortune, as well as costing our once thriving motel industry. Fenton Street, the showcase motel mile in Rotorua, where many of us holidayed as youngsters, is a shadow of its former self, as in the once well-being motels that have been turned into ghettos of desperate families. First and foremost, the delivery of all housing, including but not limiting to emergency housing, needs to be faster, cheaper and simpler. We need more competitive supply industry and a recognition that properties do not all need to be engineered to withstand a Force 10 building code. Government is seldom the solution to all our problems, but it is the enabler to deliver a growing economy and thus a stable, sustainable livelihood for our people. We have a relatively new government, and after 6 months there's a feeling that it's been quick to generate some early momentum in some critical areas. However, alongside the early wins, there's plenty of challenges, of which housing and immigration are just a couple to come to mind. We have major issues in health, infrastructure, the future of agricultural industry and the environment, and more. Our challenge is to simultaneously build a country's revenue while decreasing our costs and improving the delivery of services across the board. That's not an easy playing field. Somehow the government needs to bring us with it. Its goals need to become our goals. Most of all, we need to go back to a country with an aspiration to be better at this stuff. Better at providing a place for our people to live and work and to bring up their families and to have a meaningful careers. Better at looking after those that need help and ensuring the lifestyle of this fantastic little country is accessible and affordable to those who choose to call it home.